Hello and welcome. My name is Steve and I'm here with the Healthy Habits Formula. Thank you for joining us. This is the first month of the Healthy Habits Formula and we're diving into exactly what we expect of you in this first month. Now, if you watched the Quick Start Guide introduction videos, then you'll know that we're trying to get you to take this program very gradually and build only small changes into your everyday life in order to get huge results. So the very first small change we want you to build into your life is building tracking into your life. What we've done is we've created a calendar that all we want you to do is at the end of your day, go through this calendar and answer a variety of questions. We're going to look at the calendar in a second, but they're really simple, as in, did you get 6 or more hours of sleep last night, or did you drink 7 or more glasses of water? One thing we want to highlight when we look at this calendar is you don't actually have to do any of the items listed on the calendar. All you have to do is be open and honest about whether or not you did that thing and be sure you track it from day to day. What we plan on doing is using this information for a couple of reasons. First, all we want to do is to bring awareness to your life about what you are and what you aren't doing on a day-to-day basis. The questions we put on this calendar were strategically placed there because they are what we consider to be healthy habits, and we know they're fundamental principles to being successful from a health and wellness standpoint. So we wanted to bring them into your everyday view just so you could see if you were or weren't doing those things in your life. Some of them you may be doing occasionally, some of them you may be doing frequently, but this is more to make you aware of what you are or aren't doing. If you don't check any of the boxes other than the box asking if you completed the calendar that day, that's fine, because that's really all we want you to do this month is make sure you're filling that calendar out from day to day. The answer doesn't matter, and whether or not you're trying to build those other things into your life because you see that the calendar is left blank doesn't matter either. What matters is that every day you're tracking what you're doing from day to day and you're building that into your life. Now, with that said, we want to make sure you prepare yourself. And what I mean by that is you want to put the calendar in a place you're going to remember. If you set it under some papers or shove it in your briefcase or leave it at work, chances are it's not going to be there for you when you need to go over it at the end of the day and answer these questions that we want you to answer. So we ask that you set it maybe on your nightstand. Maybe you leave it in your bathroom when you go to brush your teeth in the evening, you can fill it out. Maybe you leave it on your computer if you go to check your email last thing before you go to bed. It can be setting right there so that you remember to fill out your calendar. But what's most important is that you fill it out and you fill it out every day. In fact, it's so crucial that you fill this out that if you don't fill it out at least 90% by the end of the month, we don't want you to continue to the next month of the program yet. We want you to repeat this month and build this habit into your life before you try and change anything else around. Because we've seen what happens when people try and do too much too soon, or they try and add one thing in their life, it doesn't really work out, so they add another thing in their life, it doesn't really work out, so they add another thing in their life, and you bounce back and forth between all of these different things without ever figuring out how can I build this one small thing sustainably into my life. And so that's one of the first principles, is that if you're not 90% compliant with some of these changes, is you need to go over that same change again and again and again until you're able to build it into your life. Now, we don't want you to just mindlessly grind away at it, not changing anything and just feeling like you failed if you don't manage to stay 90% compliant. But if you find yourself struggling to keep up, then what's going to happen is we're going to ask you to assess what you're doing. If you're leaving it at your nightstand and you just forget to check it every night, then maybe that's not the best place to leave it. Maybe you should put it somewhere else where it'll be a little bit more obvious to you that you need to fill it out. So those are a few examples of how we're going to tweak things around if they're not working out for you. But ultimately, we need you to do the work in this program, and we need you to be 90% compliant with all of these changes we want you to build into your life. Otherwise, they're not going to become habits. They're just going to be things that you attempt and then eventually fall off to the wayside and are not really built in firmly into your lifestyle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to dive into that calendar, and I'm going to go over all the categories and explain what each one is there for and what you're trying to accomplish by filling out this calendar. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look at the monthly evaluation sheet. Now, the monthly evaluation sheet is separate from your daily tracking calendar. This evaluation is only filled out once a month, and you can put it somewhere that you don't necessarily need to remember it from day to day. For me personally, I have mine posted on my refrigerator, so at the end of the month I can go back and fill it out. You can also keep it with your monthly calendar if that makes it easier for you to remember. But anyways, we're going to dive into that and how to use your daily tracking calendar to help you fill out your monthly tracking calendar. And the monthly tracking calendar is something that is going to be repeated each month, even though at the end of our program, this daily tracking calendar will change just a little bit to be a little bit more specific to your goals, your wants, and your individual needs. So let's dive into those calendars real quick, and then we'll finish up after. So let's take a look here at our daily tracking calendar that you're going to be filling out. Now, on the calendar, there are a series of different questions that are asked. The first of which is, did you get 6 or more hours of sleep last night? The next, did you work out today? Third, did you eat 3 or more meals with lean protein? Fourth, did you eat 3 or more meals with healthy fats? Fifth, did you eat 3 or more meals with vegetables? Sixth, did you drink 7 or more glasses of water? Seventh, were you prepared for your daily habits today? And 8, did you check the Healthy Habits Formula website or email today? Now, on this list, all we want you to do is not necessarily worry about changing any of those things in your life. All we want you to do each day is simply go through the checklist and mark whether or not you did it. Now, if you did all of those things today, it's going to be checked all the way across. You can do that with each day as you progress through. And even if you don't do anything that day except mark the calendar, day to day, you're still going to have this second to last column, the were you prepared for your daily habits column checked. Because this means you did your habit. And since our first month's habit is just filling out this calendar, all you need to do is check this box each day to be able to be compliant. Now, what I want to do is talk about each one of these individually and why it's important for your everyday. Now, a big part of this calendar is bringing awareness of some of these healthy habits into your life. We want you to simply be aware of whether or not you're getting enough sleep, whether or not you worked out, what kind of food you're eating, if you're drinking enough water, and then also just making sure that you understand that you were prepared to do your habit, which for this is just being prepared and putting this calendar in a location where you remember to check it off each day. So what I went ahead and did is filled out 2 weeks of my own personal calendar so that you can have a look at what it'll look like a couple weeks in. So you can see I'm sort of all over the place here. Obviously, I'm not working out every day. I have a pretty consistent every other to maybe every third day workout schedule. Generally, my sleep is pretty good. I eat a good amount of lean protein throughout the day. That's a pretty good habit I've built into my life over the years. Same with the healthy fats. But as you can see, my 3 meals or more of vegetables each day is lacking a little bit. Same with my water. You can tell I'm not drinking quite enough water on a daily basis. But I went through and I made sure I checked off my calendar each day, which is the important part. And even though I didn't do it every day, I was sure to check into the Healthy Habits Formula, read the forums, check the Facebook, and generally just stay active in that. So as you can see, even us as trainers, we're not perfect. We do have a lot of areas that need improvement. But because we have developed some of these habits into our life and we're working to build more in, we do have a few of these areas that are pretty filled out. Your calendar may look completely different than this. It might be completely empty. It might have a completely filled out water column and a completely empty fats column. That's okay. That's actually part of why we want you to fill this out, because next month we're going to use this sheet to help determine where you should start. If you have a problem with your diet, but we notice over here that you're not sleeping well, Even if you are getting some good meals in your day, it could be your sleep rather than your diet that needs more work. If you notice here, I did miss 2 days of sleep, and on those 2 days, my diet was really lacking, and so was my water. So I know for those couple days, and this is something I've already looked at deeply in my life, is that sleep plays a very important role, and it has an impact over a lot more areas. So this is sort of why this calendar is here, because then you can sort of see the relationship between these different areas of your life, as well as over the course of a month, how consistent you are with each one of these habits. So once again, reiterating, it doesn't matter what you answer on these questions. Just be honest with yourself that day and be sure you check off the were you prepared for your habit. If you don't check off your column that day, then you need to leave that whole column blank. Do not come back tomorrow or the next day and fill in what you think was accurate. This has to be built into your everyday routine, and it needs to be consistent. All right, next we're going to be going into our monthly evaluation tracking sheet. Now, the monthly evaluation tracking sheet is only going to be filled out at the end of each month. So what I went ahead and did is I filled out the first part. Up here, our first category, body weight. We want you to be able to track basically how much you weigh from month to month. Even though not everybody is focused on their overall weight goal, we feel it is important to understand at least where you are in terms of your body composition, just so you can see how some of these habits are affecting not just how you feel, but also your physical body. We also give you the option, it's not on this calendar sheet, but you do have the option of taking a monthly photo and saving that photo for your own record so you can see visually what changes have been happening to your life. Next, we come down to the little bit more qualitative categories. One is we want you to rate your physical pain. Now that means how much pain do you experience on an everyday basis, whether it be joint pain, muscle pain, or any other physical pain. This is more so you can see whether or not exercise is helping reduce or add more pain to your life. Ultimately, we want you to reduce the overall amount of pain that you have to little to nothing. So if you are experiencing a lot of pain, we want you to track from month to month how that pain is feeling, especially once you start adding these positive habits in. And that's the same with all of these. Your energy level, we want you to track that from month to month. Your self-confidence, because that's going to be an important part of your mental health. Same with general happiness on a monthly basis. Next is stress level, and then quality of sleep. As you notice, all of these numbers are going to be out of 1 to 10. 10 is always a positive thing, and 1 is always negative. So we want you to be aware that even if you're rating what your stress level is, a low number on your stress level would actually be worse. So if you find yourself very high stress, then you're going to want to rank yourself with a very low score on the stress level, because we want you to have 10s all the way down the board. We want it to be so that a high score is a good thing and a low score is something that might need some improvement. But also, we want to reiterate, don't change these things just because you don't like your score. Don't try to shift too much in your life around, because as we've said before and as we have seen in personal experience, that always leads to failure. So we want you to be aware of what your month to month looks like, but we want you to be making those changes in a small, gradual way through what we introduce in the Healthy Habits formula. We just want you to see how those small changes are affecting every aspect of your life rather than that one specific area. Next, you'll see we have a total score. Now that total score is because these numbers up here are going to shift around, but we want you to see the general tendency that you have from month to month, if this is going up or if this is going down. Now that's important because even if your physical pain, energy level, confidence, all that shifts around from month to month, you should still be moving in generally a positive direction. Hopefully this will be moving up from month to month, even if you have an area such as stress or sleep that might have been poor that month. If you are building these positive habits in and realizing and seeing these effects, you should also see these numbers start to increase as you progress through the program. Now last we have our small habit change tracker. And what this does is it just asks, are you 90% compliant with that habit change? Which means, for example, with our tracking calendar, our calendar tracking, were you able to fill out at least 27 of 30 or 31 days of your tracking calendar? Because missing 3 days would still put you in the 90th percentile. If you missed more than 3 days, you cannot check off this box and you cannot move on to your next habit. You have to make sure that this is 90% compliant or greater before you can progress through the program. So if you did fill out your calendar and you were more than 90% compliant, you just go ahead and check it off. The next month, you'll see there is still spot for it. So we still want you to fill out a calendar even in your second month because we've now built it into your habits. But we also have a second change that we want you to build in. And that's why it's important that you stay 90% compliant. Because if you're not compliant this month, we don't want you to go to a new month and add a new habit change and try and be successful with both of those if you're still struggling to be successful with that first change. Be sure you can be 90% compliant before you change anything else in your daily schedule. Lastly, we want to make sure that you put this in a place where you won't lose it. It is important that you track these from month to month. So for me personally, I put it on my refrigerator. It's a really easy place to just go back to at the end of the month. You can also put it on your calendar if you have one, either hanging on the wall, by your computer. Just put it somewhere that you won't lose it and you'll remember to come back to it at the end of each month. All right, so that's how we're going to be using both the daily tracking calendar as well as the monthly evaluation. Now, what you're going to look forward to next is we're going to be providing you with a few additional resources to help cover those points that are on the daily tracking calendar. You notice there are a few categories: lean protein, healthy fats, incorporating vegetables into your diet. All of these are posted in the resources section under nutrition resources, and they are listed in the 10 fundamental nutrition principles. Each one of those is broken down, and we go into a little bit more depth as to what lean protein is, what healthy fats are. So if you're unfamiliar with any of these, we want to have those resources available to you so you can jump in, catch up on your reading, understand what we're talking about and what you're being asked, and then go through your calendar and mark it off. Also, we have some fitness resources available so that you can get a better idea of what it means to work out, understanding that it's not necessarily an hour a day to be able to mark off that did I work out today, more did you build that habit into your life. All you need to do is work out for 1 minute, which is explained a little bit more in our fitness video. But just making sure you watch those videos if you're a little unfamiliar with the questions asked on our tracking calendar. And be sure you print those calendars out and get started right away, because that's your first change, and we can't wait to see what else it does for your life. All right, until next time, I'm Steve with Healthy Habits Formula, and see you soon.